thank you. I'm really, really grateful that you chose to be here this morning and really explore this idea of serendipity. And I want to invite you immediately into creating a connection with me, because all of you here by chance. And so this is my information, my Instagram and Twitter feed, and also my company information. So I'd love to be able to connect with all of you. I'm really interested to know what answer you wrote to today's question. I would love that if you shared that with me. That would really make my morning. So please connect. And you know, when I think about my introduction and my role within Irvin & Smith, you know, that's a serendipitous moment in and of itself. And it really started off with a bold idea and inspiration from a ballpoint pen. So I graduated from college and I got this awesome job at an ad agency, and it was on the account side business, working with clients, reviewing the creative work that was being made. And while I really loved that, I had this longing to make something. And I decided I wanted to make a change. I wanted to be something that with somebody on a team that was bringing ideas to the table and making things happen. So I wanted to be a copywriter. And that was different, and that transition typically doesn't happen for a couple of reasons, because it's a different skill set, and one, frankly, that I didn't really possess at the time that I wanted to make this change. And you also need a thing called a portfolio, so I couldn't even shop myself around to get a job because I couldn't show people that I could do the thing I wanted to do. So, you know, with that idea, I decided to take a leap of faith and say yes to taking a chance and putting myself out there. So I re-enrolled in UNL, and I signed up for this portfolio development class. And that was pretty special in and of itself, because I think that is the only time that UNL has ever offered that course with that adjunct professor. So that was a little bit of a magical moment for me. And then through that class, I had to build out this portfolio of creative work, and kind of a side note, extra special little fun thing of magic that happened there. My husband, at the time boyfriend, was the one that helped me put everything together. So that really meant a lot to me then, and it means even more to me now. And you know, as our professor was looking through our books and kind of evaluating our stuff and telling me what to change and what to keep, he came across this one campaign. It's like, okay, well, this is really interesting. I think you should enter this into the Addies that happens to be, you know, a couple of days away. I said, thank you very much. Like, I love that you are responding so positively to my work. Do you have a job? He said no. So I decided, okay, last minute, I will absolutely enter this award. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to put my work out there to be judged by other people in the profession. And you know, what do you know that these little hand-drawn ads that featured this Uniball pen that could write in any condition imaginable ended up winning Best of Show. And it landed me square in the center of a boxing ring, accepting my award. And as I ungracefully exited the ropes, the creative director from Irvin & Smith handed me his card, because they just so happened to have a copywriting position open and they wanted to talk to me. And so if that wouldn't have happened, if I would not have taken that chance and decided to act on an idea and an impulse to try something new and put myself out there, the outcome would be different. And so it's really exciting for me to really think about, you know, these different magical forces that are in play in our lives every single day. And that's what I want to explore. And I want to think about, you know, this idea of it not just being passive, but an opportunity for actually us to create and manifest more of these serendipitous moments in our lives, not just for us personally, but professionally as well. And, you know, I really think that you can put yourself in the path of success and open yourself up to great opportunity, but you have to put yourself in motion. You have to be willing to take action. And so, you know, why would you care about doing any of these things? You know, why should serendipity be important? Why should this matter to you today at 8:51 a.m. on Friday, May 12th? I think for three reasons. I think because, one, I think serendipity is the key, or one of the keys, to living a really fulfilled life and really experiencing life, not just being alive, because it creates connection, it creates opportunity for us to explore new things, and it allows us to really kind of engage in humanity in ways that I don't think we are really good at right now. Second, because I think it can have the power to make us smarter, or at least more creative, because when we're thinking about really tapping into new things, this is an opportunity for us to explore big concepts, ask for help, make different connections. And you know, a lot of successful business owners and entrepreneurs allow chance to kind of weave its way through their workday every single day to come up with really cool, innovative ideas. And I do not know one person that's trying to build a team that is not looking for somebody that can connect the dots to things that seemingly don't connect, to be able to bring people together and to solve problems as a larger group. So that's the second reason. And third, because it's magical. And I love magic. I think it's awesome. And I also think that we've lost a little bit of that today's world of hyperconnectivity and instant gratification. You know, that's super convenient, and I love all those conveniences, but I think it's dulled a little bit of the shine and the sparkle, and I think we need more sparkle, because that is absolutely fueling our creativity and our joy. So that's why I think serendipity is cool, and that's why I'm excited to talk about that a little bit more this morning. So when you think about serendipity, there's probably a lot of different, you know, words and associations that you have. And I'm sure it also starts to kind of bring up a lot of different memories. I love the example that Kim shared this morning. You know, and when I think about what it means to me, this was a definition that I really connected with. It's our ability to, you know, take these chance occurrences, surprising people, things, and places, and make creative use of it. And, you know, anytime we have those chance occurrences, there are all of those inflection points in our life, these inflection points that change the path that we were headed down, that really kind of put us into a new perspective, or kind of really chasing a new solution. And I think it's easy, at least it is for me, to really call it milestone moments of big inflection points in my life, things that, you know, are noticeably big deals, that noticeably changed kind of who I am and where I am today. But I'm also really interested in this idea of those small inflection points, those little things that are around us that seem pretty mundane, you know, like an email, a glass of wine with a friend, walking the dog. But I think these are the opportunities that we can take advantage of and make sure that we are cultivating in our lives, because I think this is where a lot of these kind of serendipitous moments start, and we may not always recognize it. You know, and so when you think about, you know, these chance occurrences and all these different inflection points and how they impact you, you know, I always like to think about how things work. And so, you know, can you put a process to serendipity? I think so. And I think this is kind of a very simplistic way of looking at how this all works together and kind of comes to life. It all starts with preparing your mind, and then, you know, being open. And then there's an unexpected event that occurs. You then recognize that potential. Most importantly, you seize that moment. And then you're able to kind of look back and evaluate the effects, but you don't know what magic is taking place until you're on the other side, because you have to look backwards to be able to connect the dots and say, what was that catalyst? What was that moment that really kind of put me on a different path? Was that inflection point in my life? And so I think that's really interesting. And so how many times have we maybe overlooked some of those small inflection points in our life that ultimately could lead to big change and big impact? The interesting thing too about this process to me is that it does start with preparing your mind. And so getting our minds right is super critical, because we can't control anything that happens to us, but we can control the way we react and respond. And you know, ultimately, I think there was this interesting study done about people who are more lucky or perceive themselves to be more lucky, and they are more optimistic and more open. And so that's the lens in which they kind of view the world and the opportunities that they're really faced with. And so I think it's really important and critical that we do get our minds right, because this offers us a chance to kind of guide our own path. You know, are we going to take the unexpected or kind of the unknown moments in our life and maybe travel down a road of anxiety and bumpy regret and fear? Or are we going to kind of transition that into one of opportunity, of intrigue, possibility, and hope? And because everything starts with our brains, we have a little bit of a downer this morning, is that we are actually our own worst enemy when it comes to putting ourselves in the path of good luck and creating these serendipitous moments for ourselves. I think people on average have about 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day, and not all of them are serving us well. And that's because our brains are really built to protect us. You know, so, I mean, thank you, but ultimately when I am in a place where, you know, I am faced with something new, a challenge, an unknown, something that kind of frightens me, my brain sends up triggers and says, this is not a good idea. I don't think you should do this. And so then we are really in a place where we can talk ourselves out of really exploring those opportunities and experiencing serendipity. So in order to combat all of this, I've kind of created 4, I'm calling them serendipity superpowers in my life, if you will. And these forces are really helping me to control the way I react and respond to the unknown in my days. And those 4 things are openness, presence, curiosity, and flexibility. And so a little bit more on each one of those. My first superpower is openness and saying yes. I know that's something that we're hearing a lot, but it's a lot harder to do. It's a lot easier to say. And so saying yes to things that scare me, that challenge me, that break me out of my routine, that having me feel a little bit uncomfortable is really important, because when I'm open, I invite in new relationships, new opportunities, new ideas, new ways to solve old problems. And that is incredibly powerful. The second superpower that I'm actively engaging is that of being present and really paying close attention. We are moving so quickly, and the world around us is moving so quickly, and if we are not paying attention and we're continuing to have our heads down and working on all of the things on our list of to-dos and buried in our phones and email and all that good stuff, we're gonna miss it. And again, I think those small moments can be easily missed. So it's important that we pay attention and we be present so we can capitalize on those things. The third superpower for me is the power of curiosity, of exploration, and discovering new things. And this is really important because you just never know what meeting any of you might do, or exploring new concepts or new skills or new ways of doing things. Those are opportunities to take a new path, to go down a new road. So when you're always asking questions and when you're exploring and you're ready to kind of receive that information, big things can happen in your life. And then finally, flexibility. This is the hardest one for me, admittedly. I like to be in control. My Strengths Finder says so. Achiever is my number 2. And then also on my emergenetics profile, I am 18 out of 100 on the flexibility scale, which means I'm more focused. So I have to give myself permission to get off task, even when I have a lot of things to do, even when I'm really making sure that I'm hitting deadlines, because it's those offhanded conversations, it's opportunities to be here this morning, it's ways for you to kind of explore and play and add new perspective to the things that you're doing. Because if you're too concerned, with your own thoughts and how you do things, you're not going to get any different result. And I think today's world, our personal lives and our businesses are calling for different results. And this is how that can happen. And so with all of these superpowers combined, I really have seen them help me kind of engage in more serendipitous opportunities and cultivate more of those opportunities to me. There's one story that kept coming up as I was thinking about today, because it's a recent event and it was a big event, but I started to think about the process at play through all the stuff that we've just been talking about this morning. And, it was kind of that right place, right mindset, right time sort of thing. And so I wanted to talk about how email marketing, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a marketer, this was truly how it started, to the impact that it had to relocating our business very recently to Exarban Village. So I'm sure you're all thinking, there is nothing magical that is hitting my inbox on a daily basis. And I get that. I think people average 120 emails every single day, so there's a lot of things to ignore. But for some reason, this email that popped up in my inbox, in some of my coworkers' inbox, to check out this innovation course through Stanford's design school was something that was super intriguing, and something that sparked a lot of conversation within our leadership team. And we said, maybe this time away, this opportunity to kind of think about and explore innovation from people that really created the design thinking methodology could be just what we need to kind of think about our business very, very differently. And so we asked a lot of questions, we were very curious, we did a lot of research, but ultimately we decided to say yes and try something new and put ourselves in a very humbling position with people that were so incredibly smart and people that were also working in corporations that had innovation labs baked into their companies, and these people, again, that really were the founders of this design thinking process. But when we were kind of going through all of this, we were really trying to soak up a lot of their knowledge, their tools, their experience and expertise, because we thought, just maybe the idea of spinning up some sort of innovation lab within our agency would be a way to kind of change the game for us. And while we were exploring that, something really interesting and lucky happened. We got a chance to go tour the IDEO studio and walk through their space, which was a dream come true for me. And as we kind of walked in and were giving this guided tour by somebody very famous, I immediately kind of have this moment of hyper presence, and everything fades away into the background. And I become incredibly focused on every single detail of their space. I think about the ideas of how they were working in flexible work environments, how they were building their team, how everything was set up, how people had areas to actually play and physically make things outside of the computer. It was remarkable. And that was a moment that really changed my thinking and our leadership team thinking about what we might need as a company and what might be the right thing for us to kind of help innovate and push forward from where we were originally going. So after we come back, we get ready to do our 5-year plan. This was in 2015. And we are going down the normal kind of routes, of course, like thinking of revenue, IP, service lines. But there was kind of that thought still in our mind of that one moment that we had when we were in that innovation course at Stanford and exploring IDEO space, and said, maybe something is missing here, and we're not thinking about the physical environment and what opportunities that could bring to our company. And so this is where the plan kind of changed a bit. And one of our goals in our strategic plan was to create a physical space that encouraged fun, collaboration, and community impact. And here's our little prototype. It is beautiful. My very favorite feature is the rooftop deck and pool. So I was advocating hard. I loved this idea. But there were some things that really had to come together for us to make this a reality. So, we set this intention, it was on our goals, and for the last 3 years, we've really been thinking, how do we make this work? Because there are a lot of moving pieces and parts. One, we needed to find a buyer for our building that was going to be flexible with us. And two, we basically needed to find a needle in a haystack, a building that was centrally located, didn't increase our costs, allowed us to fit our current staff, of course, but then offer room for growth, and by the way, be able to have the community come in and use our space so that we can engage in that capacity. Turns out there was a limited supply of real estate options that fit that need. So we were really thoughtful though, and open and willing to explore and wait and ask more questions and say yes. And so there was a chance occurrence in an opportunity at Exarban Village that we went to explore. A tenant was moving out, and we kind of walked in and we were thinking, I don't know, this is awesome, but I don't know if this is us. And our realtor just said, you guys, like, why don't you just go? There's this first generation space in the Gordman's building, and I think you should at least go look at it. And so we decided to go look at it, and it was this immediate sense of that hyper presence that I felt when we walked into IDEO. I had goosebumps, my heart was racing, I was sweating a little bit, and I was really, really excited. And so was Heidi, our CEO. In fact, we were kind of like jumping up and down, and it was amazing. But still, there was this thing that had to happen, which was actually being able to physically move ourselves and sell those buildings. But we decided to put up our West Omaha location on the market. Our realtor said, set expectations. This is likely going to take minimum 6 months, and we'll just kind of hope, we'll cross our fingers that this space is still going to be available for you guys in Exarban Village. And so we're like, okay. So we put it up on the market, and within a couple of days, it caught the eye of a buyer who just so happened to be looking for a building of this size in West Omaha. He bought this space. And then we closed on this deal and penned our lease within a matter of days of one another. And into this year, April 7th, we moved into our new home in an Exarban Village, and it was amazing to check off that big idea, that goal we had on our strategic plan. While I will tell you, we did not get to negotiate in the rooftop deck and pool. We did design a space with our employees that met that criteria of being collaborative, being a place that was fun, that had positive impact. And for me, that was so important, and kind of looking back at how all of these things had to happen, one after another. The conversations, the buyers, the space, the availability, and for us to be open in our mind to put ourselves out there and do something different and think differently and make some bold choices, that's pretty magical. And so looking at that process and thinking about kind of all the things we've talked about, it's pretty incredible that we have what we have now because of email marketing. That was one persuasive piece of communication. We have community connection now, new talent, revenue and potential, and we've only been in the space for less than 2 months. But I love that this is something that I can point to as a real point of serendipity in my life that's impacted me personally and professionally. And so when thinking about how I want to kind of leave today's talk, I want to leave you guys with a couple of kind of nuggets and some questions that I want you to be asking yourself. So just kind of recapping on those superpowers, you can steal these or create your own. Saying yes, being open, and being willing to be vulnerable. Paying close attention, living in the present, not worrying about what happened yesterday or what might happen next week, but really living right now. Discovering new things and getting curious about people, places, concepts that you've maybe never connected to before, because that's when new stuff really comes to life and the magic really can spark some really cool things. And then getting off task, being willing to change up your routine, your to-do list, your career path, anything, because that is going to lead to flexibility of thought and behavior, which can produce some pretty magical results. So I want you to think about, what superpower will you create? What will you start to implement in your life? And I also want you to just be considerate of those small little inflection points that happen every single day. And maybe, just maybe, it's who you're sitting by or who you talked in the hallway. There's lots of little magic at play in this room right now, which is incredible. And so I want you to also think about those ideas of those small moments in your own life that have led to big impact. Because again, you are having the opportunity to look back. You have that vantage point. So think about that. But more importantly, I'm hoping that you'll be open to really inviting in those other small moments that can create big change that's yet to come. And also, luck favors those who try. You have to take action in order for this magic to work. You have to seize the moment. And so I just want to leave you with the idea and question of what are you going to do differently? Because if you want to seek in serendipity into your life, if you want to cultivate more of these moments of magic for you personally and professionally, you're going to have to change your game. You're going to have to do something that you have never done before. So what is that going to be? Because I want all of you to experience more creativity, more joy, more magic each and every day. Thank you.